This lighting. Wow. Wow. Let me just sit in here. Yo, lighting is so important, but it is so complicated. I gotta get a better setup here. This is what gets time. And the glasses are just a dead giveaway. That's the only problem. Because I can't see. So, can y'all hear this? I wanted some music in the background because it all ties into what I wanted to talk about today. I hope y'all can hear it. And then I got this wicked boombox. It lights up for Christmas. I'm just gonna. I don't think I can technically have this in the live, but we'll figure it out. I do not own the rights to that music. That is Burna Boy, actually. So if you're not familiar with Burna Boy, you need to be. His new album, it's completely spoke to me during this season of my life, and I honestly feel like every single song I gained something from. So if you do not, I don't own the rights, I don't know if this will get taken down just because this song is playing, but this is one of my favorite songs called Common Person. Go listen to it, epic. So, perfect timing since it's over, so let me just go ahead and turn the music off. So, what I wanted to talk about today was, obviously how do you align with transformation? But one of the, there's a lot of different components and insights that go into what had to happen to get to transformation. And part of, me going and putting myself out there more is to really give y'all a more in-depth look as to the intention behind transformation. And intention, it comes from this. This is where technically it started. So I can credit, this is my journal. This is my first adult journal. I got this for my graduation from grad school, my master's in social work back in 2014. My stepmom gave it to me. I didn't start using it until 2017. If I did use it, I know there's this one page in here, and I keep it in here just to remind me, like, for 3 years, as much intention as I thought I had. Okay, Sarah. But I started writing my budget. I don't know if y'all can see. It's kind of old at this point. Y'all can see that was my budget. I was using it as a notebook to budget. And then it turned, we're coming up on, so 2023 will make it, I guess, 4 years. January of 2019 was when I, hold on, let me make sure that's right. Oh, no, I'm sorry. November of 2017 was when I first used it. And then I took a break from intention, apparently, from 2017 to 2019 when I started journaling. And during that time, if I look at, my story and my timeline, I just bought my house. I turned inward for probably the first time ever. And I was doing some work that I didn't realize the magnitude of intention at that point. Ironic, because I was writing in a freaking notebook about intention, and I didn't get it. I still didn't get it. And I still, to some degree, I'm like, yo, do I get it now? And I'm like, well, I gotta get something, right? Like, I did this thing. So I gotta get it. I gotta get it a little bit, to a certain extent. So I wanted to talk a little bit more about the meaning behind intention and what intention can look like in your lives. And then also just the concept of meaning. I was working on one of the projects that I will be releasing soon, so keep an eye out in the next, 24 to 36 hours. for like a really cool thing. I'm super excited. And I was writing about meaning and like, what do you guys need to know about me and my story? And so I'm gonna start with the intention of what the story of the bumblebee is. So I don't know if anyone knows that. I've got one person, I haven't figured out Facebook Live, y'all. I see like one person watching, I just don't know who it is. It could be my assistant, I don't know. Oh, I didn't even start going live on Right Size Perspective. Bless my heart. Bless my mother freaking heart. Anyways, we'll have to put the full one back up on RSP. But the intention, the meaning of the bumblebee. So if anyone's heard the story of the bumblebee, you definitely give me feedback, but the story I heard is the one that I really want to share, because the bumblebee is considered a physics anomaly. It does not make sense to the physics community as to why a bumblebee can fly, because the mass of its body and the way that its wings work, it shouldn't fly. It shouldn't be able to fly. And they say in the physics community that the reason that it can is because no one told it couldn't. So the meaning behind bumblebees for me, and then more recently I kind of said, I was like, yeah, I kind of identify with the bumblebee a lot more, especially more the queen bee, because I evolved into this, this leader that, I mean, I kind of already knew I was supposed to be, but when we don't claim that role in leadership, we become a follower. And when you're not destined to be a follower, because we need followers, like, leaders, not everyone can be a leader, not everyone can be a follower. We won't get anywhere, kind of just in circles. But if you truly are supposed to be a leader, being a follower, it won't work. You will have chaos in your life. It will bring conflict. It will bring, and so the thing about becoming, I evolved. I've always been a worker bee. I love to work, and the queen is one of the hardest working bees out there. They do a little bit of everything, because when you lead, you have to be able to know how to lead people, and if you aren't able to do that work, then it's just not going to work out. So the meaning behind the bumblebee, to the point where I recently got it tattooed on me, ironically in New Hampshire, wearing my New Hampshire sweatshirt today, and yeah, I just wanted to really bring forward the conversation about how do you find meaning in your life, especially because it's about to be a new year. 2023 is going to be about me. Sorry, not sorry. It's going to be about me. I'm truly, reclaiming the role of being a leader in my own life and having to trust that. It's a lot. And I think a lot of people already do that, but do you do that with intention? And I think a lot of society, during this time of the year, people start talking about what are your goals, what are your intentions, what are those things called? Resolutions. Resolutions is what the word I'm looking for. New Year's resolutions become this thing. And I know somewhere in my journal I wrote about resolutions, because I think if you grew up in America anyway, we talk about the top of the year, let's start new. And I realized everyone's talking about that right now. So I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna kind of talk about it. But I don't really also believe in resolutions. And I saw a social media post the other day, which made a whole lot of sense, which was like, why do we start this one thing that we're trying to change at a time where it's usually not the most accepting time to change? I don't know about you, but I don't like to do a whole lot outside when it's cold. And I'm from New Hampshire. It's cold in New Hampshire. I just don't like to do a whole lot in the cold now. So it's like, do we set ourselves up for failure? In a lot of ways we do, especially if we're not aware of when that cycle is really putting us out there into that cycle of does that work for us? Now, if it works for you, by all means, do what works for you. That's gonna work for you, right? But is that time of the year to really put a pin in this is when I'm gonna start? Is that truly the intention of how your life works? To me, in my field, given clinical social work and addictions, it is very a lot more similar to an all or nothing pattern than I'd like to admit. It's like, if you don't start it this year, you're not going to start, right? Like, it gets to that very conditional concept of change that, in my experience, is not sustainable. Believe it and it will happen. Absolutely. Hey, Belle. I love that you're here. Oh, I gotta wave at people. Yeah, I'm working on this. So I find, if you are going to be that person of resolutions, right? Like, because we do need a staple, like we need a focal point of, you know, how do we start? Where do we start, right? And I do think that, you know, the first of the year, 1, 1, 2, 3 is going to be a good focal point for a lot of people to make changes. But I wanted to add my own little spin on this, because the thing about intention is, as long as your goals, they stay in line with what your true momentum is going to be, then your intention will come true. You'll be able to find meaning in anything that you do when you're heading towards the intention that you set for yourself. And so the story of the bumblebee for me was because, I mean, it's not necessarily that intentional. I was intentional enough to get a tattoo about it, but it was really about the meaning and how, when we have meaning in our lives, we automatically have value. And when you have value, that's sustainable. I don't know about you, but we're about to go into a recession. The concept of saving money, that brings value, that brings something back to us to make sure we have less stress. It's like, okay, we have more value to the resources that we spend. Value is sustainable. Value-based living is really at the crux of this transformation. And so if you can make your intentions and your resolutions for this 2023 to hold as much value in your life, then sustainability is automatic. That's at least what I believe. When you align yourself with your values. So for example, one of my biggest values, guess, perspective. So if let's say, I can never think of a good example on this one. Oh, Jesus. Let's say I get into like some road rage, like with myself, because I'm from the Northeast. We all know that our driving skills come with a little bit of attitude. If I get myself into like a road rage situation, how I align myself with that value of perspective is, let me try to see, okay, this person driving crazy, right? What does that tell me about them? They're going fast because they're either late, they're not paying attention, all that, right? If I can be cognizant of that, I automatically align with my value. So therefore, whatever emotional reaction that came to a head during that little situation I got myself into, then it's automatically valuable for my life. And when we can find value, that is where the sustainability and that connection and that current that keeps us, one of the things in my program I say is, everyone's like, well, I don't feel motivated. You're never going to feel motivated. Motivated is a feeling. It's not sustainable. Momentum is sustainable. If you can find the momentum in the process, then you found the intention, you found the value, because that's going to be what you look for every single time you feel like you got off track. Anytime you feel like, oh, I regressed, then all the cliches of, healing is not a linear process, those come in, because you never truly regress if you find a perspective that allows you to keep on going. So when you align with your values, you can be more consistent. You can take that all or nothing and that fall off, because that all or nothing and not being prepared for the all or nothing, which is, it's silly at this point, because it's literally human nature. We're all or nothing. We're all in usually, but it's not sustainable. And New Year's resolutions, that's where they get the bad rap. They're like, oh, New Year's resolutions. Then the holidays get generalized in there. It's like, oh, there's a new year. What's actually really different? I've been there. I've thought that way. I never we get to a mindset of like, well, what's the point before we even get started? And that's what I help people get away from in my work with them. And you normally get past the back. Yeah. I think you mean more of like, oh no, you're talking about the road rage. Yeah, you get mad and you propel. It's like that emotion. Why all or nothing is a human response is because it's fueled by emotion. Emotion is our energy in motion, so it is literally what keeps us going in the world, which is why my goal is to normalize mental health, emotional wellness. And a lot of the way I do that is just the way that I speak and using expressive language, not only just talking about emotions, but being able to see the emotional propellant and the momentum in everything we do. As an example, you can see, oh, you guys can't see over here, hold on. You can see the emotional propellant to these Post-its on my wall was overwhelm. You can see it. I look overwhelmed, don't I? At least in that. I just haven't taken them down. We have emotional propellants for everything, even for setting our goals. When we look at ourselves in the mirror, is the most common goal, I think, around this time is like, oh, I want to lose weight. I need to get healthier. It's become a stereotype that people make fun of. I love stereotypes. I love to talk about them and I love to be sarcastic with them. But the reality is that they exist for a reason. It is not something that we have to continue to minimize or disregard the significance of why we want to do those things. But the reason we don't, and we get to a point where we don't want to do those things, is because we get discouraged. Guess what discouragement is? It's a feeling. Guess what feelings are? They're an extensions of emotions. Because we usually fear, for me, I fear the accountability of disappointing myself and that's the most important. It's like if you disappoint yourself, that's what you're processing when you feel like you disappointed someone else. Because you are ultimately the sun in your own universe. So if you disappoint someone else for not shining that bright, it's a reflection back to you. You're just disappointing yourself. So in turn, we start to restrict ourselves. We start to restrict ourselves in how we find meaning and how we find value in the intentions that we set for ourselves. I'm not going to say it's easy to just get back in groove with that, but I want you to remember that it's easy enough to keep it in the forefront. Keep it out in front of you. You don't have to believe it quite yet, but don't disbelieve that setting an intention is not going to work for you to get somewhere. But remember that if you don't feel like you got to the point where you wanted to be, find the value and you'll be able to see like, oh shit, I did get somewhere. Because if you think about it, you're more likely to do it. And if you keep thinking about it, you're more likely to do it. And then one day you're going to do it. One day you're just going to get yourself so aligned with the value of thinking about something and wanting it so bad that you're going to do it. And I personally believe most people are innately good. We don't act that way sometimes, but that's a whole other conversation. But when you find the meaning in your life, that concept of goodness, when you're good to yourself, you automatically become good for other people. And taking care of yourself and transformation, and this, my transformation was really about holistic self-care. I take care of a lot of people in a lot of different ways, and usually the person that gets left behind is me. I leave my own needs behind because I'm so service oriented. My job as being a therapist in addictions is consuming sometimes, to the point where my social life gets very limited because it just takes a lot of energy to do that. I would never trade it for the world, but it was also what required me to stop what I was doing, the way that I was doing it, and turn it back on myself because I was becoming a hypocrite. I don't want to be a hypocrite. I grew up with that feeling like no one likes a hypocrite, right? Do what you do, say what you do, and do what you say. And you'll be amazed at how many results of just feeling better you'll get when you show up for what you said you were going to do. And then kind of tying it back to this whole thing about meaning and intention, if you set your intention at the beginning of this year to get healthier, pay attention to every single aspect of what getting healthier means. That's the value. It can't just be, it can be, I'm not gonna tell you what it can't do, but I don't personally believe in the sustainability of saying getting healthier is only going to the gym 3 times a week or every single day. It's not realistic. Getting healthier means getting more sleep, drinking more water, stopping working when you say you're gonna stop working, going out and hanging out with friends in a reasonable, balanced way, getting outside at least once a day, or taking a vitamin D supplement if you can't necessarily get outside during the sun. It's just where I'm at right now, y'all. You know, we ebb and flow in the program. And health it's an immense world. So if your resolution this year is going to be getting healthy, make sure you're paying attention to all the different aspects of what getting healthy means and the value it holds in your life. You won't even need, well, no, I'm not gonna say you won't even need me, but I think everyone needs a little bit of accountability, but you won't necessarily have to, you won't need the accountability and the approval of anyone else because you'll be able to see it yourself. That's probably I'm a very visual person. I have to help people like truly get the concept when I'm in therapy, but if you guys know like a pore on your face, right? If you have like a blackhead, if y'all are not a pimple popper, this is trigger warning. Y'all know when you get the bottom of the pore because you can see it cleaned out. That bottom of the pore is your ability to self-soothe and self-validate. You don't need to stay there all the time, but you need to be able to do it when you do not get it from other people, because not everyone is in a place where they can give you the validation that you truly need or the validation that you want. One, people can't read your mind, and yeah, they're just not you. You have to be able to give yourself that validation to stay in line with intention. Bye, Rob, have a good day. Have a good day at work. To stay in line with that intention and to stay in line with the value and the meaning that it holds. So, kind of going back full circle to the bumblebee, is that the meaning that bumblebee has for me is to remind myself that I was never supposed to be in this life unless I started living every day with intention. Bumblebee was not supposed to fly, and they never intended to believe that they couldn't, which is why the science world that we have constructed as beings, physics, they can't figure out why they can. So when you don't have an answer, you make one up that works for you. So make sure your intentions work for you, make sure they help you stay in line with your values, and make sure that if you ever feel like you're not doing a good enough job, send me a message, because I'll make sure you find some way to see that you are. That's all I got for y'all on this New Year's Eve. Keep a lookout for a post from me in the next 24 hours because I'm so freaking excited. Facebook, I'm just gonna say this. Facebook gave me a gem. It gave me a gem, and you have to be paying attention for when these gems come to you, because if you're wrapped up in your feeling, you're not gonna see them. But he gave me a gem, they gave me a gem, and I'm gonna put it out there tomorrow. Between tomorrow and the next 36 hours. I actually don't know when my assistant's gonna do it, but it'll be there. And if y'all miss it, I'm gonna send it to y'all anyway. So have fun with it, and have fun and be safe with whatever you guys do to celebrate. Be kind with yourselves, because if y'all realize there's not a lot of people out there that are being kind to themselves, and it kind of causes them to be unkind to other people. Yeah, there's a lot going on out there. And just stay intentional. And see y'all in 2023.